South Korea and Japan have started enforcing entry restrictions against each other's citizens over new coronavirus concerns. South Koreans entering Tokyo are now required to undergo a 2-week quarantine. In a tit-for-tat response, Seoul has halted a 90-day visa-free entry program for Japanese. They are required to undergo special entry procedures such as temperature checks and a submission of health documentation at airports. Meanwhile, the U.S. military is taking no chances. It has imposed a travel ban for all U.S. troops and their families to and from South Korea amidst fears of contagion. This ban will stay in effect until at least the 6th of May. South Korea is the nation worst hit by COVID-19 outside of China. This morning, officials reported 69 new cases, and that brings the total number in the last day to 248. The total number of infections now exceeding 7,300. The death toll edged slightly higher to 53. That's according to local media reports. The mayor of the hardest hit city of Daegu expressed cautious optimism, though the outbreak may be slowing with the increase in cases easing to its lowest in 10 days. Prime Minister Chung Sai-kyun also echoed the possibility of a slowdown in the outbreak. However, Korea's Centers for Disease Control, the Director General there, warned the formation of a new cluster of cases is still possible and could result in the acceleration in the number of virus patients. She noted the recent decline was largely due to a drop in the number of cases linked to the Shincheonji Church.
이 신천지 교인들을 추가적인 전파 차단을 위해서 격리 상태에서 검사를 한 그런 검사 건수가 계속 이렇게 순차적으로 진행되면서 거기서 나오는 환자 수가 상당히 많았습니다. 그래서 대부분 그 교인들에 대한 검사가 마무리가 돼가면서 같이 환자 수가 좀 줄어들고는 있는 상황입니다.
And our correspondent Lim Yun-suk is in Seoul with the latest updates. Yun-suk, official figures out this morning suggesting a new daily low in the number of new cases. We just heard some officials saying this is a sign of a slowdown in the increase in infections.
Well, yes, South Korea admits that the numbers have gone down in recent days. Last week we're seeing the number of new patients every day in the 500s and even 600. But recently, over the weekend, we have seen it drop to about 300, and today slightly more than 200. And so South Korea thinks that it has somehow, somewhat got this under control. But right now, as you just said, the South Korean government officials here, including the Prime Minister Chung Se-yoon, is not taking any chances, and they say they remain cautious, although they are very glad to see the numbers going down. Now, South Korea is not just seeing the number of new patients in the area of Daegu and among the church members, but also in other areas too, like some of the health centers for the elderly people. They're seeing a cluster of new cases popping up, and that's why South Korea says it remains still on alert. Now, meanwhile, while that is going on, the South Korean has started a new way of handing out the masks here in South Korea. And so starting today, all South Koreans will be able to get 2 masks per week, and they will be going to the pharmacies to get them. Although this morning, as I was coming into the office, I did see a long line of people waiting outside. And so I think some of the adjustments that South Korea will continue to make. Because like last week, South Korea said that everybody had to go personally, directly by themselves to go and get the masks. But then over the weekend, South Korea made adjustments saying that children under the age of 10 or elderly over the age of 80 didn't have to go themselves, and that family members could go on their behalf. And so I think South Korea is still trying to make some kind of adjustments to make sure that everybody gets them. But there are still long lines of people waiting for the masks here in South Korea. Now, meanwhile, the South Korea has also said that apart from containing it within the country, another new issue has come up, and that's because of the rise in the global cases. And so South Korea is hinting that it could take more measures against foreign nationals coming in. It hasn't made any decisions on this, but it is possible that it may expand the quarantine on foreigners coming in, or in some cases, it may have to restrict nationals coming in from overseas, although at the moment, South Korea has made it very clear that no decisions have been made. And we know, as you just said, South Korea and Japan have started the no visa, have suspended the no visa programs on nationals coming in from each other. And so we'll have to wait and see. But South Korea is happy that the numbers are down here in South Korea, but also voicing concern about the global rise in the number of patients overseas too.
Yoon Suk, before we crossed you, we mentioned that the Director General for Korea's Centers for Disease Control said the recent decline in new infections was due to a drop in the number of cases linked to the Shincheonji Church. Apparently, though, some Shincheonji Church members still refusing to be tested.
Well, yes, that's what we're hearing from the mayor of Daegu this morning, too. He has said some 251 patients of the church members were still not coming forward and were not agreeing to getting the tests done. Now, he did say out of the 10,000 or so church members in Daegu alone, about 97% of them have been tested. But right now, there are still dozens of them who refuse to be tested, and he has given them a warning, especially the 50 or so who have to be tested by today. He says if they don't agree to it, then it is possible that they will be taking legal actions against those church members. And remember, last week we had the president, the chairman of the Shincheonji Imani, offering to give about $10 million in donations to the South Korean government to fight this battle. Daegu City and other cities here in South Korea had rejected that donation, saying that the most important thing right now was for the church members to agree and to come forward to cooperate with the South Korean government, and was not interested in the money. And that is something that the mayor today also said, that it was very important that all the church members receive the test. And so that ultimatum, that warning has been issued to some of the church members who are refusing to be tested.